Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Laying It Out. I'm Chelsea Pockets.
And I'm Scotti Dempsey.
Today we're going to be talking about playing in the mixed division versus playing in the open or women's divisions.
Yes. But first of all, for you video listeners out there, you may see a new apartment. I've officially made it to New York City, and now I've got a whole new video background for you all.
Yeah, very exciting. I helped her hang up those pictures in the background.
Yeah, Pocket spent a week with me in the city. We unfortunately did not play any Ultimate. Well, she was here, but in exciting news, club tryouts are starting across the country, and I was able to go to one myself last weekend.
Yeah, how was that?
It was so fun. I was so nervous. I was live tweeting my whole experience from the subway because I grossly underestimated how much time it would take me to get there. But I showed up right on time. I missed throwing as a warm up and stuff, but that's okay. And then as I got adjusted, it was a blast. I did not realize how much I've missed playing Frisbee and how much I love playing Frisbee, because for so long I was like, oh, I guess it's just something I do. This is part of my personality. But no, I actually like it. And so that was a great vote of confidence. It is a mixed team, so that is going to be a fun little point of our discussion for this week's episode.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, we're talking about mixed kind of versus the open and women's, or I guess it's called men's now. I was corrected last weekend when talking to some friends. It's men's. You and I have not played in the men's division because we do not identify as men, but I have a boyfriend. So we're a Frisbee. So he's played both for Peep Show, and then he's also played for teams in the men's division. He played in college, Lehigh College team. So we're going to be talking with him later in the show, kind of getting his man matching players' perspective on if he prefers mixed division versus men's division and kind of the reasons why. But that'll be later in the show. Scotti, you touched on your playing experience. You finally played for the first time in New York City.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Maybe where you might go in New York City? What other things you've been doing?
In general for New York, or Frisbee in New York?
Frisbee in New York. Frisbee
there's so much to do in New York City. Well, it's definitely interesting because obviously New York City is a city, so there's not a ton of green space. So it is a bit of a commute to figure out where to go to play. So this was up on the Upper West Side. So it was a little bit of a hike for me because I'm down on the Lower East Side. But we met up with a friend of the pod, Mags, who's an editor at Ultiworld. We had dinner with them, and they suggested Astoria Park and also some pickup that's going on in Prospect Park. And I considered going yesterday, but then I ended up having to work. I texted Pat from Sin the Fields, and I was like, hey, are you going? And he was like, no, I'm an old man and I have shuffleboard.
Yeah. Scotti shared that with me. She's like, look what's Pat's doing, playing shuffleboard. I'm like, okay. But you do you, Pat. You do you.
Yeah. So maybe I'll get to play some Frisbee with him down the line. And I believe it's just been interesting finding teams, because I've been texting Mags a bunch and being like, hey, what do you know about teams in the area? Because you've been here. But they've only been here since the pandemic started. So they really don't have much of a leg up on me.
Yeah.
And so we're probably going to go to a women's non-binary, women matching players team practice this coming weekend. So it's been interesting trolling Facebook. And then actually the team I tried out for, I have another tryout in 2 weeks. We played them. We played Peep Show. So that's how I knew about them. And that was kind of my good jumping point, because then after they were like, we're going to go to a bar. And I was like, say less. I'm there. And I got to hang out with them and get more suggestions for pickup and stuff. So a lot of it is word of mouth, and it's all just putting yourself out there, and people that play Frisbee like you already because you play Frisbee. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. You just reminded me talking about that since we played them in Peep Show. You had texted me while you were at practice, like, Pockets, we have Peep Show film of you, Scotti, getting skied by one of the other team's captains.
Yeah.
I forgot to look for that, but I'll see if we can find it on YouTube and maybe link it in the description.
Yeah.
Or at least the clip where you're getting skied.
Or we can tweet it or something, because I do want to send to the captain, because I told her, I was like, like, I played you and you skied me. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to be playing for them, because I was like, I knew I was going to move to New York. And she turned to the other captain, who I believe is her boyfriend. She was like, see, I recruited her. So I was like, oh, I think they like me. So that was fun. How about you're playing Pockets? I know that you've talked about it a little bit last week.
Yeah, we talked about it a little last week. I'd been doing the women's matching pickup in Philly, but now, as of last night, because we're filming on a Thursday, I have played my first game of Summer League, actually since 2018, because in 2019 I was a college grad without a job and living in my parents' basement like you were last year. How time repeats itself. So yeah, my first Summer League since 2018. If anyone is not familiar with PATA and how it works, they seem to have 3 different like mixed Summer League divisions. I'm doing like the beginners casual league, which we've mentioned before on the pod. It's called Yule Ultimate Hat League. But then there's also someone whose like last name, all the PATA people listening are probably going to hate me. Like his last name is something, but his like if you shorten it, it's Yule. Mm-hmm. So he like created the league because he really wants like new players. Like we allow brand new people that have never stepped foot on a Frisbee field and played a point before to play. So I was a little bit nervous about that, especially because after I had signed up, they asked me to captain. I was like, I've never played PATA before. But like on my sign up list, I was like, if needed, I can captain because I captained in college. I know Frisbee at a basic level. I'm comfortable talking in front of people and teaching them. But yeah, they sent me their email. They're like, do you want to captain? I'm like, sure. So it was actually a lot of fun last night, even though it was like a pretty casual league. I was having a lot of fun. We have a girl, she's 17. She's never played Frisbee before. And so that's really exciting. This is going to be her first experience with that. She can throw a backhand, but like most people, we can't throw a flick right away. But that's exciting. Everyone on my team's really fun. We have our friend Benny is on my team. I convinced him to play with me. And then the other thing, which I was texting Scotti about, which this is going to make this conversation go off the rails, is Borg. We don't know like what color jersey we are yet. And it's not like we're assigned like team 1 or 2. There's no theme for the league. And that's how I've done like team names for Summer League before. It's like there's some theme or something. But we're just Sean and Kelly, because that's my real name, Kelly. So I was trying to think of something. I had nothing to go off of based on this team. And I came in way too hot to the game last night. I was like, we're going to be Borg. And my co-captain's like, what? I'm like, you're Sean. I'm Pockets. Sean and Pockets is Spockets. Spockets is Spock, Star Trek. And then like I Googled a list. Well, no, Scotti then texted me and she's like, what's that like ship in Star Trek? It's like Enterprise, which isn't fun. But then I Googled a list of spaceships and I found some list that was like the most powerful ships in Star Trek. And the number one was called Borg Cube. As we take a laughing break, I just thought that was so funny. And then Scotti and I spent like 5 minutes just texting each other Borg back and forth.
Borg is
that's
funny.
Not going to be our team name because like Benny was the only one that was quote interested in it, and he was just being nice because he's my friend. And there's this couple that's on our team, and they brought their really really cute dog named Widget.
That's a good
So I
name.
think we're just going to do something like off of Widget, like Widget's fan club or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, League is back, baby, and I'm excited to play.
Actually, someone in the like women's team that I'm going to practice for this weekend, they put a message out that was like, "Oh, there's like a women matching summer league coming up," and I'm trying to decide if I also want to do that because now that I've like played frisbee and then I couldn't walk for 2 days, which was fun to complain about because I was like, "Oh, like look at me, I'm so sporty." Now I can walk again. I'm no longer sore, but like I'm my body doesn't know what's going on because it's like, oh my God, we worked out really hard and now we're sitting on the couch doing nothing, just like looking at my computer. And so I have to like take myself out on walks like I'm a dog. I like walk to Madison Square Park and I sit under a tree and I'm like, good, this is it.
Well, that's kind of what you and I did when I visited. I think the max number of steps I took that week for a day was like 19,000.
Well,
because we both have our little trackers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't walk as much because for our listeners, we walked 6 miles the first day, 6.5, then like 8.5, and then like 4 because I was like so tired. Well, no, we walked 4, and then the next day I was like, oh, please,
we gotta take a break
because I was like, also I know I'm gonna be like running my legs off playing Ultimate, so I don't want to like be dead before I even show up. We did a warm up, and I was like, my quads are already seizing up. This is not a good look, but I laid out twice in front of a captain, both times unsuccessfully.
Ooh.
But I still did it on turf.
Yeah.
So that's what matters.
Yeah, you put your body on the line. That's what's important. Yeah. Listeners, just throw your body, destroy it for the sport that you love.
As long as you don't throw it into other people, because I did get...
Yeah, don't throw it into... Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. It feels good to play frisbee again, and it feels good to talk about like playing frisbee and make frisbee.
Instead of just talking about frisbee,
instead of like so wildly speculating about our feelings. But it's good. Yeah.
Great. I'm glad we're both back on the field.
Yeah, me too.
So when we come back, we're going to take a little break. But when we come back, you will see the wonderful and glorious Sponge
for the first time.
Yeah, as we talked about mixed versus the men's and women's divisions. But catch you after the break.
Hey listeners, this week's sponsor is brought to you by G-Dub Ultimate. This Ultimate Frisbee team Twitter DM'd us early on, around April 27th, and asked if they could give us a sponsorship. And I said that they could send us a write-up, and we would be happy to read it. Well, we're in June now, and they still haven't sent us a write-up, so we're still waiting on that. We haven't forgotten, but here's your sponsorship anyway, I suppose. Thanks so much for being on it for creative content. Well, G-Dub, this one goes out to you. Hopefully you'll get us one soon. All right, now back to the podcast.
All right, welcome back after that break, everyone. We're here with our special guest, Sir Sheldon Sponge VI, also known just as Sponge. For our listeners out there that aren't watching the video podcast, Sponge, you want to hold it up again? I think we've talked about this on some episode, right, Scotti? Where Lehigh has a tradition where all the graduating seniors, they get a disc designed for them. And Scotti actually designed the one for Sponge. You want to give a little description of it for our audio-only listeners?
Sure. I mean, I just knew that Sponge really was into like the whole like 80s like vaporwave type of theme. So I wanted to take advantage of that, and I had a really cool idea. So it's like a lot of the cool like neon shapes, and then his name over it it's called Thunderstorm font. And I've been thinking about some jersey designs for that, for maybe Wildwood as well. So we'll see if I go to Wildwood, but I think they would come out cool.
Yeah, Sponge and I are both like, we'll see about Wildwood this year, if it's even possible.
Yeah. I have more props. I don't know if Scotty's seen this, but I have this mouse pad too.
He's all kitted out.
Yeah. It's a design that's based off of a drinking game table that I made when we were all at college. So it's a fun memory.
Yeah.
We have two little artists here on today. So welcome, Sponge. We gave you a little bit of an introduction earlier in the podcast, but why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and what your ultimate Frisbee background is?
My name is Sponge, as you previously said. When I first went to college, I had no ultimate Frisbee experience at all. I was actually a baseball player turned jazz musician. I decided to join the club when a bunch of people from my dorm were all going to the first practice, and then from there I stuck with it because I really liked the group of people that I was with, and here we are a few years later, and I still love the sport. Unfortunately, I haven't had much time to play since the pandemic. I think a lot of people are in the same boat as me, but I'm really itching to get back to it.
And what club teams have you played for as well?
I've played for the Garden State Ultimate Feeder Team, Garden Party, which lasted a whole year. And I also played for Peep Show as well with Pockets and Scotti. Unfortunately, my season was cut short a little bit there because of an injury, so I wasn't able to play as much as I would have liked, but I was there.
That's what counts. That's what matters.
Yes. I went to all the practices.
Since we were all players on the mixed team Peep Show, and then we've all had our men's and women's divisions, both college. Well, Scotti hasn't done women's club.
I have not
yet. We've had that experience. We wanted to bring Sponge on to kind of be the man matching player perspective as we talk about playing mixed versus a gendered division leagues. So to kind of get started, I have a question for both of you. Just generally, what do you like about the mixed division, and then what do you like about your respective gender division? Maybe throw it to Scotti first.
I have been thinking about my answer to this question actually for a little bit, because I thought that I would be saying definitely women's. I played, women's at Lehigh all 4 years. Oh, I guess I only played for 3 years, but I played women's at Lehigh the whole time, and I really loved the way that it was played. And especially when I played Peep Show, we definitely had some issues with physicality and being one of the smallest people on the field. That was both like intimidating, and then when I would get hit, which was more often than is really ideal, I got hit really hard, and I really kind of started to resent playing mixed for that reason. And then when I tried out for this new club team, the men were fantastic to play with. They threw to women. They looked to us. They let me pick up and handle. So I might be converted. I don't know. We're going to see how the next club tryout goes.
Hold that to the end of the interview. No spoilers. But what about this mixed club team that you just tried out with? What about just playing mixed did you enjoy?
Honestly, just being able to play with so many different people, and that I think everyone was there just for the love of the sport, not so much for it felt like by the end of my college career, it felt like everyone was there for their own personal gain, but we were all just playing Frisbee together, and it was fun. And that's kind of what reminded me of why I love Frisbee. So yeah, that's how I feel. That's my answer. It's a lot longer winded than I expected it to be.
It's okay. We have a podcast for a reason. We like to talk. Sponge, so what do you like about the mixed division and the men's division?
For me, playing in both divisions is fun in their own way. You get to experience different strategic looks in the mixed division when you're playing with a mixed gendered group, whereas with men's it could be a little bit more straightforward most of the time. But I'd say overall, I like playing ultimate, and it doesn't really matter what the gender grouping is to me.
A true ultimate fan.
A purist.
I was trying to think about my own general likes. I think Scotti, along with you, I've kind of flop back and forth like, oh, I only want to play women's, or oh, I liked mixed too. I agree with you, like mixed. I like being able to play with like all of my friends, no matter who they were. I like playing with my boyfriend and then also my best friend at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think about what I also like about mixed is it's kind of forced me to play in a slightly different style. And this kind of goes into why I like women's a lot, because playing on Lehigh and playing for 4 years, I kind of got into a very specific skill set on the field where it's like I am either the first or second cutter in a host stack. If I'm the first cutter, I'm catching it and I'm hucking it deep. If I'm the second cutter, I'm the one catching that deep huck.
Yeah.
And I kind of got stuck in that. So playing mix kind of forced me to expand a bit and try different cuts and different throws and stuff. So that's what I like about both of those divisions. Moving on a little bit, we've all played. We've played college, our respective genders. We've dabbled in mixed club, and then we've also played league. I'm bringing this up because do you think there's a difference between the college mixed division style of play and the club mixed? We haven't actually played like college mixed, but we've gone as a college team to like different summer leagues and stuff.
That's a good question. I think like we talked to Pasta and he's really involved in college mixed ultimate. And I think that kind of comes down to the different like team components, because one thing that I was going to say about like going from women's on Lehigh to mixed with Peep Show, and even like a little bit last weekend, is sometimes like it gets very male heavy. So with some of even the guys that we played with on Peep Show that played mixed in college, it was just kind of more like dudes throwing discs to each other. And it's, I think that's kind of maybe where it differs, is like there's a little bit more structure with club mixed because just the people in general have more practice and more experience playing with more types of people, because most people do seem to start in college. Go ahead.
I was going to say basically the same thing, just by virtue of it being club, you're going to be with different, or not different, but higher skill set people. And this isn't necessarily true for everyone, but I've found a lot of the time that higher skill set people are more aggressive. So they might just be playing like a lot harder than you would in a college setting where you're more with like people that you live with or you see every day in class. So that the atmosphere can be very different, but at the same time, the actual game can be a lot more strategic and competitive if you're into that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with both of that. And also, I just remember like playing league when we would play over the summer at the Lehigh Valley division, and we would just throw the Lehigh men's team and the Lehigh women's team together and expect them to know how to play together.
No,
I wrote down. No, it's kind of frustrating to play with college boys that are used to playing the college men's division.
Yeah,
and only that.
Yeah,
I can see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. You were okay. You and I get in fights when we play that you throw it too hard at me.
Don't even get me started.
But I had a story written down from one summer league, just a memory that I had that frustrated me. It was our summer after our sophomore year, Sponge. So Scotty, you hadn't been playing yet, and the Lehigh team decided to break into two. It was the day where the two Lehigh teams were going to play each other. And one team came with no women on them. And the other team, my team, had like enough women matching players that we could actually play. And we're like, okay, it's the other Lehigh team. We can just like have a fun game or whatever. And then a unnamed man on the other team was like, oh, I can play against the women because I can't run right now, so I'm just gonna like stand and throw. This guy is 6'4".
Oh no.
When I was marking up against him, he just easy dishes over my head, and it was the most frustrating thing where he's like, oh, I can't run, so I could be a girl. It's like, that's not how that works. That's really not how that works.
Yeah.
So
that's not a fun matchup if you're the defender.
Yeah. I think I've always had a bit of a hesitancy, at least in the beginning of my career, to play mixed because of that
Agreed.
fake college mixed experience. And then I actually got to club mix and I was like, wow, this is a lot better.
Yeah. That was one thing, like, everyone always told me to play Summer League because you get so much better. And then I would go to Summer League and I wouldn't touch the disc. And, like, maybe it's because I wasn't good at getting open, but maybe also just, like, other people were getting open easier because they were, you know, bigger, or, like, not throwing to me. It was just very frustrating, and I felt like I didn't get anything out of it.
All right, hello. If you are paying attention, Scotty's computer just died, and we had to do a quick little switcheroo. But luckily, she's a working woman and has a second laptop.
Yes. Which has a better camera quality, so.
Yes.
Even better.
See, what's that thing? Bigger eyes to see you more clearly with. What's the little Red Riding Hood?
What big eyes you have, the better to see you with, my dear.
Yes, I fucked it up.
All right.
Yeah, that was off.
Yeah. Back to the actual conversation that we were having. We were just finishing talking about our experience with League and kind of playing fake mixed Ultimate, where you just kind of combine a men's and a women's team and hope that they somehow mesh. But as we move on from this transition, I'm going to talk about other transitions and ask you both, what was the transition period like from your Lehigh College team to club and club mix specifically?
This is a good conversation to have, definitely. And I know we were talking about doing like a full episode about playing Ultimate as an adult because it is weird. I think definitely the biggest thing for me is that everyone was there to play Ultimate. But it was social, but it also, like, it wasn't dramatic, you know, like everyone kind of had their own thing going on, and I really liked that because then I could just, like, I could do my frisbee thing, and you could be my frisbee friends, but you don't need to be involved in like every other aspect of my life. So I think that was probably like the biggest transition, like off the field. And then playing wise, I realized that I had a lot to learn, so I couldn't just rely on being athletic.
Me too. I don't even consider myself athletic. I am just naturally skinny.
Yes.
I guess for me, a lot of the teams that I played for after college, I was fortunate enough to play with a lot of people that I was at Lehigh with. So the transition between them, like at least the transition between being on a team with your teammates wasn't as bad because I could always rely on them to give me advice or to you know, just like be a friendly face on the team. There have been some instances where I've had to kind of throw myself in there because I've been that desperate to play Ultimate. For example, one summer while I was doing an internship for my current job, I did a pickup league in New Brunswick all by myself with no one else that I knew, and that was an interesting experience also, just because when you don't know anybody and you kind of just like waltz into a group of people that are already have familiarity with each other, it could be a little awkward because you see everyone else talking and you're just like, hey, how about that point?
Yeah.
But ultimately, fun. It's the game that brings us all together, and as long as you're playing and you're being spirited, then I think it's really easy to kind of slide into that. At least in my experience.
Yeah, I kind of experienced a little bit of that last night when Scotti and I talked about this early on in the episode, where I played my first game of PATA Summer League. And it was a little awkward, just kind of like walking up to the field, like, hi, is this field 6? And they're like, yep. And then I just sit down, put on my cleats. I'm like, are you on Kelly and Sean's team? And they're like, yep. I'm like, hi, I'm Kelly. I'm your captain that didn't show up the week before. But then, like, as you start playing, you do kind of get into it a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah.
I was going to kind of
build that chemistry on the field.
Yeah.
Definitely. Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, you're fine. We interrupted each other all the time our first 2 episodes, I would say. It was really bad. But I was just kind of gonna repeat what Scotti had said, where I transitioning from like college to club level, I realized like I am not that good at ultimate frisbee in the grand scheme of things. But it, like, even though that's a little bit like, it might seem like a bad thing, I think it's actually a pretty good thing, because it just shows like it's kind of nice to be the baby again on the field. I think that's how we've called it before, where you're just the one that's not expected to do anything great or amazing, but everyone's still excited that you're here, still excited that you're learning, and it's a great learning opportunity. And it's just fun to be able to get better and learn more about the sport that you care so much about.
Yeah, I would say to never shy away from an ultimate experience if you think it might be above your skill level, because the overwhelming majority of experiences that are kind of in a more open format, even if it's above your skill level, you'll still learn something, and that's always beneficial going forward. Our captains from college would always tell us to go to the club tryouts, even if you weren't sure you were going to make the team, because you could connect with people, and more reps is always better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good advice to just kind of echo to everyone, because I think we're in a weird, like, some teams are in tryout mode now, some teams are finishing them up somehow, and then some teams are about to begin in a couple of weeks. But, like, put yourself out there. You may feel a little bit out of shape. You may feel a little bit rusty. Everyone has been taking the past year and a half off or more from Ultimate. So everyone's going to be in the same boat as you. And even if you don't feel like you're as athletic or as in shape as the rest of the people there at the tryout, like, give yourself a break. 2020 was hard on people. It was hard, definitely on me. It was hard to keep a workout schedule regularly. But just, like, get yourself out there. Don't do too much, and just try and fall back easily into the sport of ultimate.
Yeah. I definitely had the same exact experience. Yeah, I was just going to say I had the same exact experience as Sponge. Last weekend, I went to a Frisbee team tryout, and I did not know anyone. And I walked onto the field with 30 strangers and just kind of was like, hey, do you want to throw and warm up with me? And I think I made some friends, so I'll see them again soon. So I'm hoping that we can get together and throw, and that's just kind of how it works. But it's nice to have something that bonds you, which is ultimate, because you already have something in common. You're not starting from zero.
Moving on from that. Well, I guess it's sometimes good that you have something in common, but when you do huddles and they're like, say your name and one fun fact about yourself. My fun fact is that I play ultimate frisbee. But that's just...
Oh, come on, that's lame.
I don't say that. I don't actually say that. But, like, I don't have anything to ever say. But that's besides the point. We can move on from that whole conversation.
Okay.
Do you want to say something? Sponge?
Oh no, I thought you were going to go more into the first day huddles, because I always hate that. I'm really bad at remembering names.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know that's slightly ironic, given that my name is insanely stupid. But yeah, continue. That's kind of besides the point.
No, I love side conversations because I'm often the one that is starting them. But we kind of touched on this next part at the beginning of this interview segment. But after our whole conversation about mixed versus women's or men's club ultimate, what do you two prefer at the end of the day if you had to make a choice?
Oh man, I don't know. I really jumped into this one. I'm trying both this summer. Maybe I'll be able to tell you better when I get there. But right now I'm just like really excited about like what I have ahead of me. And, it was kind of nice. Like, I mean, I walked onto the field and I was like, I'm Scotty Dempsey, and no one recognized me. So sad. But like I told some people about the podcast, so maybe they'll hear it and be like, oh, she's talking about us. Cause I'm just like really excited about what I have ahead of me, and I'm not trying to put all my eggs in this one basket. But it just felt so good to start there. So I'll say mixed for today, but it could change.
I have a lot more experience playing in men's, so it's what I'm most comfortable with, and it's what I know the best. So I think naturally that's just what I gravitate towards. I do like playing mixed for all the reasons that I said before. It's fun to play with more people that you get to try out different looks that you wouldn't normally do in men's. But I think ultimately I really enjoy the physicality of men, and kind of like I just like I like being able to go all out with reckless abandon and not feel concerned for anybody's well-being.
You should be slightly concerned.
I know. I'm over exaggerating a bit, but for that reason and for others, I think I do prefer that a little bit.
This one's excuse me. Stop.
Oh, are you about to bring an animal into the fold? Because I could do that too.
No. Okay. No, we are technically an audio podcast first, because as I like to give to all of our listeners. But if the editors keep this in, my cat just came in and started clawing at my chair that I'm sitting on. So I had to yell at her. Stop it. God damn.
Wow.
She's the star.
So if I had to choose between mixed and women's club, I think it really kind of all comes down to like what kind of season am I having. I touched on it before where playing Lehigh, I got like really comfortable in the skill set that I have. And so I think if I wanted to be more competitive and play a little bit more competitively, I would go to like a women's division team. But the reason I've played Peep Show for the 2 years and the reason I drove so far to play it in 2019 is I really like the people in that group. And I think what comes down to it, ultimate for me, is a lot about the community and just kind of like getting together with a group of people that share that one common interest. So I really like, if I'm just trying to have a good time and play some good ultimate and be with my friends, then I'm going to play mixed.
I like that answer, but I think that was the same as mine. But
yours didn't have a cat attacking you during it.
Yeah.
Men rule.
Boo.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, goodbye. You're never welcome.
Sorry, I'll leave.
Well, no, thank you for coming on, Sponge. Is there anything else that you wanted to add on this subject before we bid adieu?
I hope you guys have me back. This is a lot of fun. And download Park Shit if you haven't already heard about that.
Yes, everyone.
Or
this
don't.
is the voice of Park Shit, the ad from our last podcast episode.
Based on a true story that really, really made me mad.
I was in the car. I can attest to it. But yes, Sponge was also supposed to be on the dating episode because that kind of makes more sense to have your boyfriend on the dating episode. But that was when he was having technical difficulties. So instead, he gave us a little ad read. So thank you for that. And thank you for the ad money, more importantly. You don't know it, but I stole $20 from your wallet.
Oh, you scoundrel.
Well, thank you, Sponge, for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks again, Sponge, for joining us and having a fun little conversation. You get a little insight into our trio of friends.
Our throuple, if you will.
Yes, listeners. But just in terms of this being, to some degree, an advice podcast, there are some things that I wanted to touch on just before we, wrapped up. And the first of those being how I thought that I thought that I was going to love women so much more than mixed, but I'm very grateful to this team already for reminding me that I do just love Frisbee and it's really fun to play. and how we kind of touched on the conversation of just how women's and versus men, and then the combination of that in mixed is like a very different game all around. It's interesting how Sponge prefers men's for the reason that I disliked mixed. And also how I was kind of frustrated at a lot of mixed games because of the things that I knew about women's, just because it's like a much more mental game rather than like physical and reactionary with men. So I think it's just interesting how they combine. And that kind of is what has been affecting how I was choosing a team for this summer. And obviously I haven't chosen one, but do you have any thoughts to add on that, Pockets?
Yeah, no, I think we're on the same wavelength where because of our college experience and because of like a few bad instances, maybe more than a few bad instances playing mixed, we were kind of like going into the same headspace. Like I remember texting you months ago, like, oh, Philly women's team, I'm so ready for this. I'm so excited. I'm still excited about it, but also like I can only make 1 out of 4 tryouts, and they practice on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I'm already doing a different league on Wednesdays, and I'm just worried I can't actually commit to it.
Yeah.
So women's just might not be in the cards for me this year because of my schedule. And like, if that's the case for anyone else out there, like you can't do club or something else Frisbee related because the world is finally slowly opening back up again. Cautiously, people are starting to do things again. And it's just not working out. Like, take your time. Ultimate Frisbee will be here again next year.
Yeah. And there's absolutely no shame in just playing League for a summer.
Yeah. League is fun. I had so much
to
fun
learn
yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, learning aside, it's all about having fun. So yeah. I'm so glad that you had fun, even though you were so nervous about captaining.
I know. Well, I really got to shout out my co-captain, who's definitely never going to listen to this podcast, but he was really helpful because he's like the talkative one who's very comfortable. Like, well, one, he memorizes everyone's names like immediately because he's a professor. 2, he's just comfortable explaining things, and then my motto is say less means more. So I'll chime in wherever I feel it's important, and I kind of just lead on the field a little bit more. I feel like we work together well, even though I've known this man for like 24 hours. But yeah, league is a lot of fun. And if that's the only ultimate that you could do, sometimes that's the only ultimate people can do in a normal year. So yeah, whatever you get.
And hey, you know what? If that competition thing isn't for you, that's the awesome thing about Ultimate is just how you have the ability to do it at whatever level and whatever degree of competition you want. So I'm personally not sure if a competitive season is in the cards for me because I don't know how busy my job's going to be, but it sounds like I'm going to try. I'm going to try to make it work because I just love competition and I love like playing other people and I love like meeting other teams. So that just might be where my heart lies in terms of Ultimate. And obviously I'm working the full-time job of figuring out the New York City subway system and seeing like what I can do. If, and if that's just one club team or even if it's just one league, that's what it is. But it's just interesting how, you've got a whole smorgasbord of options now that everything's opening back up again. And
yay, Ultimate!
Yay! This is our return to play episode. We're just so excited that we got to play. Okay. We did one, but that was us speculating about getting to play, and now we actually did.
We're actually doing it. Woo!
But if I'm going to leave you guys with any Scotti advice, it is get out there and play, and don't be afraid if you're the only person, because there's plenty of other people that are new. And even though all the people that I met this past weekend all knew each other, and I wasn't the only newbie, but I was the only newbie at the bar. They thought I was cool and interesting because I was new. So they are just excited to get to know you as you are to get to know them. And don't let the fact that you don't know anyone intimidate you, because there's always new friends to make with Ultimate.
Yay.
Yay.
New friends. And even though I've been living in this area for a year and a half now, I don't know anyone that plays Frisbee. So I'm also making new friends, which is a weird place to be, but
hell yeah.
It's fun.
It is. Well, I think that's all that we have for you guys today in regards to mixed versus women's, versus men's, or open, or whatever you guys want to call it. If you have any hard thoughts or feelings or corrections for us, let us know as always.
Oh, speaking of people letting us know, I feel like we should shout this out.
We should.
Feel that at the very end. We finally got responses on Twitter.
Woo!
We got 2 people that that chimed in with their best ultimate Frisbee pickup lines. Let me pull these up.
So the first one that we got was, I'm like Metro East. You'll expect so little of me, and I will still find a way to disappoint you.
That one's very funny, and I appreciate it, but I vaguely know of the Metro East joke of existing.
Because we listen to Sin the Fields.
And I kind of understand. I'm sure it's really funny for them. I'm sure they think it's great. I'm just like, oh, that's kind of funny.
And you know what? In the scheme of pickup lines, as we were rating last week, we love honesty.
We love honesty. What was the other one?
Any line that I'm on is the best line in Pickup Ultimate.
That I thought was a really good one.
Big props to Invisible Gorilla for this one. Big fan.
Don't know who you are.
Don't know who you are. You're an invisible ape, but we loved it. Thank you for that pickup line. Keep them coming.
Yeah. So any listeners, if you have pickup lines, if you have thoughts on mixed, women's, men's, ultimate, hit us up on Twitter. We love interacting with people. Scotti and I get so much serotonin from one like on a tweet. It's a little bit sad.
We are going to have a little bit of a panic attack about how to respond, so apologies if we're slow on it, because we're trying to craft the best response. But don't worry, we see you.
All right. Well, now wrapping up this episode, check us out in the PS Zone, where after my trip to New York City to go see Scotti, I talk about the things I hate about New York City because I am, as Scotty's mom calls it, a little country mouse,
yes.
Apparently.
You are.
And then Scotti tries to defend her new home.
Yes.
So check that out, subscribe, check out the PS Zone. But for now, I've been Chelsea Pockets.
And I'm Scotti Dempsey. And we'll catch you on the flip.
They say I'm